Okay, so in 1.6, we're describing and comparing data with histograms. And so there are a couple things that I wanted to go over that I felt weren't well addressed in the video compared to what was in the quiz. One of those things is just talking about greatest change and how I identify where the greatest change occurred. So if I'm looking at the different bars, I can tell the change between the bars by the gap. Let me use the highlighter. So for here, right, this would be the change here. There's no change, notice, between 30 to 40 and 40 to 50. And then that's the change here. And then we've got the change here, change here, change here, change here. So when I'm identifying the greatest change, I'm always using the interval to the right. To identify my answer. And it looks like I picked a bad graph where I can't really tell. So I'm just going to say that this is the longest, the greatest change. I'm not going to look at the numbers. If it's a quiz question, look at the numbers. But so if this is the greatest change, this section, then my answer is the interval to the right of it, not the interval to the left. So I just want to make sure that that part is clear. So this would be from 70 to 80, not from 60 to 70. Okay, so wherever that greatest change occurs between two bars, you're always taking the interval from the bar to the right, from the second bar. Okay, if I was looking for like the least amount of change, right, it would be this one. So the least would mean that it's between 50 to 60. Okay. The next thing I wanted to go over was identifying a percentage using relative frequency histograms. So we looked at this in the dot plots and stem plots, but relative frequencies, they're giving you as the relative frequency a percentage, or they're giving you the decimal. Remember, they could give you 0.4, 0.3, 0.2, 0.1 as these values. And so if it's asking a question, so they want us to identify what percentage scored below 80. So if 80 is here, I'm looking at this one represents 10 and this one represents 20. So together, that means that 30% scored below 80. If I want to know what percent scored above 70, I've got that 20. But then I've also got a 40 and a 30. So I would have to add those all up. So that would be that 90% scored above a 70. And then if it's asking me what the highest proportion of scores is in which interval, they're really asking you which is the tallest bar. And so that means that it's that 40%. And so it's between 80 and 90. Okay, if they were asking me for the lowest proportion, right, my answer would be between 20 and 30 because that's the shortest bar. The last thing I wanted to look at was cumulative relative frequency histograms. So there are a couple problems in the quiz that use cumulative relative frequency. And so one thing to note about these is that the first bar gives you an exact percent. So looking at this, that first bar here is 5%. However, because it's cumulative, that 5% is also a part of the next bar. So that means that for this one, that green section is all that's really related to that interval. Then the previous bar is cut out and then just the additional section. So just that change is related to the new category. Okay, so they're adding in all of those. That's why that last bar should always end up being 100%. Okay. A cumulative relative frequency histogram actually makes the median easy, because remember that the median is that 50% point of the data. So if I'm thinking about where 50% is, 50% is between 60 and 40. So if I were to figure out where that bar is, that's between 501 and 520. So I don't have to add up to see where I get 50. I just have to find 50 on my relative cumulative frequency on the left-hand side and then see which bar hits 50. And then that bar contains the median. The interval with the largest number of values means that it's the one with the largest gap. I'm gonna just say, because I'm gonna do this without calculating. Again, you should calculate if you're taking the quiz. Let's just say that that's the next one, the 521 to 540 kilograms. Okay, so the key is that it's the largest gap ultimately. So it's because it's cumulative, it's only that top portion. So whatever that top portion of the bar is, you're looking for which of those is largest. And then for the last one, if it's asking me for an actual percentage, so from 441 to 460, that should be a G. If I'm looking at that, so this is going by 5, so these are actually 4s. So that means that this value here is 12, and then this hits at 20. So that means that it's 8%. So if I do 20 minus 12, 8% of the cattle have a weight between 441 to 460 kilograms. Okay, so hopefully this helps with the things that the lecture did not for section 1.6.